daily Srimad Bhagavatam class. Yes, except. And every morning we do a Srimad Bhagavatam study here at the Bhakti Center at 7:15. You can all join in. It's done on Zoom and it's live on YouTube as well. So you can repeat with me on your own. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 46, which is Uddhava visits Vrindavan, beginning with text number 32. Yasmin jana prana viyoga kale shanam samavesha mano vishudham nirhitya karma shayam ashuyati param gatim brahmamayo arkavarnaha tasmin bhavantav akilatma heto narayana karna martya murtyo bhavam vidatum nirantanam mahatam kim vavasitam yuvoyok sukrityam. Yeah, you can squeeze in your body. Haribo. Anyone, even a person in an impure state who absorbs himself, absorbs his mind for just a moment at the time of death, burns up all traces of sinful reactions and immediately attains the supreme transcendental destination in a pure spiritual form, just effulgent as the sun, Arka Varna. You too have rendered exceptional loving devotional service unto him, Lord Narayan, the super soul of all, the cause of all existence, the great soul, who, although the original cause of everything, has a human-like form. What pious deeds could still be required of you? So here's Uddhava. He's speaking to Krishna's mother and Krishna's father, and he's attempting to turn down their devotion. He's attempting to turn down their devotion, increase as it did for Vasudeva and Devaki. When they began to see, oh, Krishna's God, they immediately were less cuddly, less kissing, less. They became, oh my God, oh my Lord. And but for Nandi and Yashoda to find out that their son was God did not make their devotion skip a beat. Actually, it increased their devotion. It's like, oh, my son, he's so wonderful. He's also God. And because he's trying to reduce their distress as Krishna's vipralamba, his separation. So we're going to continue text 34. Agam sati adirgena kala brajam achuta priyam vidasate pritror bhagavan satvatam patihi. The infallible Lord, Achyuta. What does that mean? He doesn't fail. So, but if we see it, kind of seems like it doesn't go back to Vrindavan. Is he failing to keep his promise? We will see. The Lord of the devotees, Sattvatam Patihi. Very nice term, Sattvatam, the honest, the devotees. And he is like the protector, the Lord. Patihi. It's even used as a term for like husband, means it's like that that person who cares and looks after you, who's always there with you, who's always there to support you. Sattvatam Patihi, protector and master. He will soon return to Vraja to satisfy his parents. Now he uses this word soon. He actually uses like a present tense in Sanskrit. according to Krishna Chakravarti Thakur. So here Uddhava begins to deliver Lord Krishna's message. Hatva kamsam ranga madhye pratipam sarva sattvatam yadahavha samagatya Krishna satyam karoti tat. Having killed the enemy of the Yadus in the wrestling arena, Krishna will now surely fulfill his promise to you by coming back. Will he come back? Madkridayatam mahabhago drakshyata Krishnam antike antarshidhi sabhutanam ashtir jyotir ivadashi. O most fortunate one, do not lament. You will soon see Krishna again very soon. He is present in the hearts of all living beings, just as fire is dormant within wood. Uddhava understood that Nanda and Yashoda were very impatient to see Krishna. Thus he assured them that Krishna would soon come. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshulnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadandikam Katanchana Smite Yasmin Duskaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismite Vidpaditam Shat Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. So this is Uddhava. He has come to Vrindavan on Krishna's request. Please go and relieve the distress of my parents and the gopis. Please go see them. Go see the residents of Vrindavan. They're suffering and distress and separation from me. Now, if you follow the pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you see that Krishna, he goes to, when he's, 10 years and 8 months old, or just under 11, he goes to Mathura, fights Kamsa, and he's there for some time. He's there in Mathura. And even the cowherd men, he tells them, okay, you go back home. I will come there very soon. And then he fights Kamsa, and then there's other, but then there's Jarasandha. Jarasandha, who's Jarasanda's daughters? They're married to Kamsa, Asti and Prapti. So his daughters have now become widows. So he also, he wants to fight with Krishna. So he comes there so many times, again and again and again. Krishna fights them. His whole army single-handedly. Somehow Jarasandha feels like, even though this is done single-handedly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he feels like, okay, maybe I just had bad luck. His friends convince him, just go again, bring another several millions of soldiers and come back. And Krishna fights them again and again. And so it seems like, okay, Krishna's not keeping his promise. But he is Satyavak. Everything he says is truthful. Satyakama Satyavak. And then eventually, actually, the cowherd men come and visit for some time. He tells them, go back. Then you find that there's many pastimes where he says, actually, there's 3 recordings that he says, I will be coming. I'll come. Does he actually keep his promise? That's a question here. And so here you have Uddhava. He's saying that he does. He's coming. He's going to keep his promise. And he's speaking to Nanda and Yashoda, because they're just telling him, just let us know if he's coming, in a few days, or when is he coming, how soon. If he's not coming, it's so painful for us to try to keep our life heirs within this body. We just feel like we're about to die, and it's so painful to hold ourselves like this. So just let us know. If he's not coming, we will just leave this body behind. We cannot take it. Actually, Uddhava is coming there not only to relieve the distress, but this separation is actually meant to display how intense is the love of the the residents of Vrindavan. The residents of Mathura separated for 11 years, and they were still continuing on with their business. But it sees when Krishna Uddhava goes back to Vrindavan, he sees that Nanda Yashoda's house, nothing has been swept. There's spider webs. Nobody is even cooking. There's great suffering. Now we have Madhurena. What is this? Madhurena. What is this quote? That when you have some type of literature, Madhurena samapayat, it should end sweetly. Not like you have sometimes in modern movies, you have some movie and it ends and it's just horrible. There's like no good ending. It's just, oh my God, it's just suffering. And then, but according to the rule of poetic literature and just the rule of literature in India, it's described Madhurena samapayat. Things should end on a sweet note. It should actually end in great loving ecstasy. So you find that separation, it increases the love. Like it's Rupa Goswami says, just like you cannot dye a cloth without dye, you cannot experience true love and the true joy of love of Krishna without being first separated from him. I remember when I was going to see my fiance, Krishna Mangala, Bhaktin Karla. We had never dated, but my guru wrote her a letter saying, Nityananda wants to marry you. What do you say? Are you interested? And she responded, she called on the phone, we said, we'll be waiting on the phone. She called and said, yes. And then she had to catch a Greyhound from New York City to Portland, Oregon, where I was living as a brahmachari and no longer brahmachari. And she was, at the time, she was not a citizen, so she couldn't just fly there. So she had to catch this, the horrible, hellish experience of the Greyhound. And then these starstruck lovers who had never dated before, Krishna Mangala and Nityananda, they were, this Greyhound trip, this waiting of 4 days was like, as the residents of Dwarka say, it felt so long. Actually, the residents of Dwarka say it's over millions of years. It wasn't like that. Now, this is not prema of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the mundane, the just general attraction the soul has. Actually, the attraction we have to have a conjugal relationship, but this is not the prema, the soul, the eternal relationship that the soul has with their eternal lover. So it's a small, very actually extremely insignificant reflection of what is happening in the spiritual world. So that separation, it felt like a long time waiting for this Greyhound bus to hurry up and come here to Portland, Oregon. But here, the residents of Vrindavan, they're not cooking. I was eating fine. I was still eating delicious food. They're not cooking. They're not cleaning. They're in complete misery. Now, so you can go out to New York City and do some preaching today. Go out, come to Krishna consciousness. You will come to great misery. You'll say, okay, is this the end of the pastime? So no, this separation is always meant to be preceded by sambhoga, by union. The separation is not the end in itself. And so we see that there's this constant separation and union that's going on in Krishna's Leela. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he resolves this question. Because in the Bhagavatam, it doesn't seem as if Krishna is going back. However, you can look at Bhagavatam is considered most authentic, most authoritative. It's not that we ignore the other sastras, the Padma Purana and etc., which do describe Krishna's return to Vrindavan. So there's a famous verse in the first canto, which Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, specifically Jiva Goswami, he describes that's the primary evidence of Bhagavatam evidence. There's also, he gives so many other evidences, but that's the Bhagavatam evidence that Krishna did return to Vrindavan 3 months after his departure. So let's open up first canto, chapter 11, text number 9. Yarhi ambukaksha pasasara bho bhavam kurun madhun vata suhrid jajikshaya chatraptrab koti pramat shano bhavet ravim vinakshor eva nashtavachuta. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura and Vrindavan or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like millions of years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless as if bereft of the sun. So here it says Kurun Madhun. Whenever you go to Madhun, so what is this Madhun? It's Mathura, Madhun. So then wait, if Krishna goes to Mathura, then why are you saying he's going to Vrindavan? So if I say, if somebody says, hey, we're coming to New York City, it doesn't mean they may be going to actually Brooklyn, even though they say they're going to New York City. So Vrindavan is in the district of Mathura. Krishna says, whenever it says here, O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go to see your friends and relatives. Now it's described, this is the residence of Dwarka, and it's described that in the night, there's a verse in the 10th canto, that in the night, this is when I think when the last fight with Jarasandha, and then there was also, what is the other demon? He was Kaliyavana. So around that time, Krishna took everybody in the night while they're sleeping. Woo! He took them all to Vrindavan. Not Vrindavan, Dwarka. He removed the entire city of Mathura and transported them to the city of Dwarka. And so why would Krishna go to Mathura to see his friends and relatives? It's already been established that they're all in Dwarka. All the Mathura friends and relatives are in Dwarka. So Krishna definitely, when he went to Madhu, which is the reference of Mathura, he specifically went to Vrindavan. Just like if somebody says, I'm going to New York City, they may be specifically going to Brooklyn. So here's Krishna. He's saying that whenever you go away to see your friends and relatives. So it's described that Krishna actually went to Vrindavan, that right there in this verse. What it's actually Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he later elaborates that, he didn't want to cause disturbance to Parikshit Maharaj, because you find in the pastime that the residents of Vrindavan, how did they leave this material world? They went back to the spiritual world in their self-same bodies. How did Parikshit Maharaj's descendants, how does his family and friends, how did they leave this pastime? There was Moshe Lila. There was an illusion of a great bloody fight between all the Kaurav, the Vrishnis, and they taking up the iron rods, and they all killed each other. The whole dynasty, the Yadu dynasty. So it would be kind of a little insensitive to the seemingly plight of the family of Parikshit Maharaj. So it wasn't really directly addressed. So here you see there's one verse here that's giving it a nice clear indication, as well as many verses and many pastimes and so many other literature that describe that Krishna did return. He did keep his promise, and he did keep the promise of Uddhava, because it's not just he's promising, Uddhava himself is promising. Otherwise, we might think, Krishna says, "Yeyatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham." as someone surrenders unto me, I respond. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam. According to one's devotion, according to I give them that intelligence, how they can connect to me. But here, you find the greatest devotees, the greatest response, and then it seems like, okay, he's completely, he's not there. He's just leaving them in great misery. So one should not think that Krishna cannot do multiple things. And so it's described that there is what is called aprakat and prakat. Prakat means manifest and unmanifest. And Krishna did both pastimes. He left Vrindavan and he didn't leave Vrindavan. He left Vrindavan in his prakat form, in his manifested form, and he didn't leave Vrindavan in his aprakat form, in his unmanifested form. And that is specifically described in this chapter. Beginning of the chapter, it seems almost a little bit schizophrenic. It starts off with Uddhava goes to Vrindavan and everything looks nice. It's beautiful. It's joyful. The cows are mooing, and then he goes to Nanda Maharaj's house and everything is miserable. So Krishna allowed Uddhava to see both aspects of this pastime, this aprakat and prakat. So Krishna can do multiple things. We find this very apparent when he went to Dwarka and Narada is visiting all the palaces of the different queens, and each queen is not only each Krishna who's spending time with each queen, and the queen is thinking this is the only Krishna. He's not only doing different things, but Narada goes 2 minutes to one house, and there Krishna is not only doing something in a different house at a different time of the day, even a different season of the year. He's going to one house to other, and there's complete different pastimes that are going on. In fact, there was one pastime that made Narada laugh quite a bit when he went to see one of the Krishnas, one of the 16,108 Krishnas in Dwarka, and he saw, who knows, anybody knows, what made Narada laugh when he was in Dwarka visiting the 16,108 Krishnas who were with, any guesses? Who knows? So one of the things that the Kshatriyas do is that they dress in disguise. They do kind of NSA. They kind of spy on the citizens, and they see, are the citizens happy? What's the gossip? What's going on? They may go in disguise and hang around and just see what's happening in the city. Not from how do people behave when the king walks by, but what's happening in the city in normal everyday life. And so Narada Muni saw Krishna doing that, which he thought was very hilarious because Krishna's already spying in everyone's heart. He's already there inside the heart of everyone. But there he is in the city in disguise, also spying on everyone. So he thought that was quite funny. All right, so when he got married, when Krishna got married to 16,000 princesses, he had 16,000 16,100. There were 8 princesses were married first, and then 16,100. So 16,100 different marriages happening at the same time. And Krishna was not only there at every wedding, his entire family was there at every wedding. All the family members were at every wedding simultaneously. So this is inconceivable. So Krishna is in Vrindavan and his aprakat pastime. He's with Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and they're enjoying the sambhoga, the union with Krishna. Of course, there's still always some type of separation. Pravas means there's some separation of distance that every devotee always experiences. And so sometimes there's a small distance, like Krishna left to the forest with the cows, and then there's a separation of extreme distance where he's leaving to Vrindavan and Mathura leaving Vrindavan to Mathura. So the apparent pastime is that Krishna leaves Dwarka and they suffer in separation. And then he leaves Vrindavan and they suffer in separation. And then returns, and so in this way, it seems like there's just one Krishna going from one of these three main places that he spends times at, Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. But in the unmanifested pastime, Krishna he's simultaneously um, enacting both pastimes. Vishnu Chakrabarti Thakur, he states that actually Krishna does leave Vrindavan for 3 months. He does leave, that there is an extended period of separation. But as our acharyas explained, that separation, without that separation, one cannot experience the pure joy of intense love of sambhoga, of the union. And even with the residents, with the gopis, even when they're with Krishna, there is constant, this flavor of separation is there, increasing the intensity of that love. Because unlike the swakiya, the pastimes of Krishna's married with the gopis, is a simultaneous pastime that takes place. The parakiya pastime is that even when they're together, they know that they can be separated. Whereas the queens of Dwarka, they don't have that kind of feeling. They know with some intensity in the beginning of devotion, had sealed their fate to be just forever with Krishna. So they don't have the sense of intensity of separation. So the devotees in Vrindavan are shown to be the most exalted. So let's look at some of the commentary of Vishnu Chakrabarti Thakur on this verse. So Nanda Maharaj is saying, oh, how great is our misfortune, our son, who would never abandon us and always tells the truth, is delaying in returning to Vrindavan. So Uddhava speaks us to console his parents. You should not lament. Very soon you'll see Krishna. Nanda, you say you will see Krishna, but when will that be? Tomorrow? Next day? 10 days from now? With some consolation, we can keep our life heirs from leaving our body till that day. But if Krishna is not coming, you should tell us truthfully. Let our life heirs leave us, for we cannot stand the pain of repressing them. So question was, where can you find this information? You have Krishna Sangati book by Shivaram Swami. He speaks very extensively in the introduction, many like 100 pages about this specifically Krishna returning to Vrindavan and the uppercut and prakat. And you can also read the commentary by Vishnu Chakrabarti Thakur on the Srimad Bhagavatam called Sarata Darshini. Very, very nice. That's what we're reading from right now. Hearing Nanda speak like this, Uddhava considered, alas, what advice can I give them? If they're suffering in separation from ordinary mundane sun, I could enlighten them by saying, why are you being immersed in the illusion of family attachment like this? Give up false attachment to wife and sons, because it is the cause of trouble. Give that up and attach yourself to the Lord. But I cannot give that advice. They're attached to Krishna. He is not like Vasudeva, upon seeing the godly powers of Krishna, weaken his attachment to Krishna as a son. Rather, by seeing Krishna's majestic powers, Nanda Yashoda's attachment to their son becomes even stronger. Okay, I read some of this. Actually, not only are they attached to Krishna, and there's also a sense of possessiveness. He is ours, but Krishna is also very much attached to them, and he has a possessiveness of them. Therefore, he said, please make them happy. I'm just going to... But if I go to Mathura and bring Krishna now, and bring Krishna here tomorrow, Jarasandha will be angered over Kamsa's wives becoming widows. Okay, we spoke about that. If I tell a lie, and that Krishna will come after 4 or 5 days, when the time expires and they discovered I lied, they will also die. So here he's speaking, he starts to speak some of more of the basic knowledge. Like actually, this verse, the last verse we read, was very similar to a verse in the first canto, chapter 2. It's, I think, text 32. Yata vahito vanir dharu shveka shvayonishu nanane bhati vishvatma bhuteshu tatapuman. That Just like fire is within wood, Lord Vishnu is within everything. Narayan is within everything. So just understand it. God is within everything. You should not hanker for your connection to this form of God. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. He's within everything. Nananina, with it, nanena, pati vishvatma. Now, this. Now, but how do you get fire to appear out of wood? It's you must add some friction. But the fire is present, like a you find that wood that has been in the sun for a long time, like these slow growing trees, they you see that they have potentially more fire because they've actually had more fire invested into them. And then you have the wood that you and some of those who live in the country, they know this. They know that there's some wood that's really good for fire, some wood that burns nice, some wood that it doesn't burn so nice. And so with a little friction, the fire can become prakat, become manifest. And so in this way, he's also saying that if you just continue devotional service nicely, then Krishna again will become manifest. He will again appear. Let's see what else. So many deep things. Today, according to Ananda Bihari's New York calendar, is the overlapping day of Gita Jayanti. It says it's tomorrow and today. So I wouldn't mind telling just a few pastimes from the Gita Mahatmya. Gita Mahatmya is from the Padma Purana. It is a book that glorifies the Bhagavad Gita. It's Lord Shiva telling his wife, how cool is the Bhagavad Gita? And he tells a story for each book. For example, one short story is that there were a husband and wife who were suffering as ghosts. They were brahmanas in their previous life. They were miserly brahmanas. I forget what specific sin brought them to be in this kind of struggling, hard situation of being ghosts. And so she asked her husband, how can we not be ghosts? This is not fun. How do we get out, not be in this ghostly situation? And he says, you have to know what is karma, what is spirits, and what is and what are fruitive activities. Yeah, what are fruitive activities, what is spirit, and what is the soul. And so she said, okay, what's the soul? What's fruitive activities? And what is spirit? Kim tad Brahma, Kim Adhyatma, Kim Karma Purushottama. She spoke in Sanskrit, and so she asked her husband, oh, great person, tell me, what is karma? What is fruit activities? What is spirit? What is the soul and what is spirit? What is Brahma? And immediately, poof, they were no longer ghosts because she accidentally chanted half a verse of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna's question to Krishna, and then poof, no longer they were ghosts. That's a story for chapter 8. There's another story between there was a Brahmana. He was very musically talented. And being musically talented, he got employed into the king's service and hanging out with the kind of, what is it, libacious, kind of indulgent king. He become basically a rock star. And as a rock star, he became very degraded. And so he was drinking and having all kinds of affairs, and he married a woman, and she was of a similar character. And she was unfaithful to this musician Brahmana. And when she found out that she was knowledgeable about her unfaithful relationship, she decided to kill him. So she killed him. And then later on, it's described in this book that she also died due to some venereal disease. Going around one person next. And they both go to see Yamaraj. They experience various hellish experiences, and then they go and take birth. He takes birth as a vulture, and she takes birth as a parrot. But from some extraordinary reason, he has this jati smara. He can remember his past life, and it's not a remembrance that causes some type of wisdom or knowledge. He just sees that parrot, and he knows that. Ooh, I hate you, and he starts chasing that parrot, and they're fighting, and they're trying to kill each other. And sometimes you see this in nature, that when two animals are fighting, that's when the greater predator, that's like, he's like, okay, this is my time. They're really distracted. So a hunter was there, and he took his arrow, and he shot uh, the wings of both of these two birds, the vulture and the parrot, and they spun down to the bottom of the forest floor, and their heads fell into an old human skull was there, just decaying on the, like, not decaying, past decay, just sitting there on the forest floor. And they fell into the skull, and there was water from the rain, and they fell into that skull, and they suffocated and drowned in that water. They both died, and they went to Yamaraj, and Yamaraj said, "Oh, you guys are free from karma now. Would you like to go to Vaikuntha?" Or I believe that's where it goes. I don't know if I think not the heavenly planets. I think they actually went to Vaikuntha, and they're completely shocked. They're like, well, what's going on? We're just trying to kill each other again. And he said, "Oh, you touched the water of the skull of this Brahmana, and this guy, he chanted a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita every day." And he named the chapter. There's another story of a goat. He's being chased by a tiger, and the goat, he's running and running, and then all of a sudden he stops running, and the tiger's chasing him, and the tiger says, "Why aren't you running?" He said, "Well, I just came to this, as soon as I got to this place, I don't feel any fear anymore." And he said, "Why aren't you eating me?" The goat, and he said, "Well, I don't feel any hunger anymore. I don't feel this anger and hunger." And he said, "Oh." So they saw this great monkey sitting on top of a tree, and they said, What's going on here?" Or there was a stone, actually. And he said there was a person who would read Bhagavad Gita, chant a chapter every day in this spot. And since that time, this place has become sanctified. It's become very pure. And anyone who comes here is free from hunger and thirst. And there's another one. There's one more. There's a buffalo, and he has some backstory, but I think he was also a miserly brahmana. Then he became a buffalo under the care of a crippled man who would overwork him. And one time, in the marketplace, the buffalo who was overworked collapsed in the middle of the marketplace, and all the people began to gather around this buffalo and offer their well wishes. They're saying, "Oh Lord, please grant some of my piety to this buffalo. This poor creature is suffering so much. Please give some of my piety to this buffalo," because it was dying. And so one prostitute came there, and she said a prayer to the Lord also. She said, "I don't know if I've ever done anything, but if I'd done anything, please grant some piety, my piety to this buffalo." And so that buffalo then took birth in a nice Brahmana family, and he had Jati Smara. He could remember his past life, and he went to find out that lady and find out what would she, because he was told that actually you have taken birth and you're free from all bad karma, and you're taking birth in a good family, all due to the piety of a prostitute in this town. And so he went to see that lady and find out what she had done. And so he found her. As soon as he was a young man, he found her, and she said, "Actually, I don't know. I have this bird. He says something every day, and I kind of sing along with it. Go and meet my bird." And so she had this parrot, and the parrot described that it was born as an orphan, and it was he was taken care of. He was found by a group of sages, and he grew up in an ashram, and the sages took care of him, and he learned a chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. So he would recite this chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and later he was stolen by some thieves and sold to that prostitute. And so to the piety of hearing the parrot chant Bhagavad Gita, the prostitute was able to liberate this buffalo from all of his past karma. So these are some of the pastimes you hear in the Gita Mahatmya of the Padma Purana. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is, I think we're pretty much, yeah, we just got 1 minute. Hare Krishna. There you go. So any last reflections, comments, or questions? Sorry, Bo. Try to get it in as quick as possible. Gita Hatmya. Any questions here? It's a good thing to chant Bhagavad Gita every day. I know devotees, oftentimes they learn shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita. They learn 1, they learn 2, they learn 3, they learn 4, and then they give up because they realize they forgot the first one. But I find it's actually very easy if you learn them all together, not important verses, but a whole chapter, because it becomes like a song. And how many songs you probably can't, you want to forget the lyrics, and they're there. You probably remember some Christmas jingles, some commercials, all these, the different words of various commercials. So when you put them all together, then it becomes actually very easy for different reasons. One reason is that they naturally flow together. It's like A, B, C. What comes next becomes quite natural. Also, you remember what you can use, and you may not be able to use important verses on a daily basis. You might not have the opportunity, or you might not feel like you have the intelligence, but any fool can sing a song. So that when you put all the verses together as in its natural setting as a song, then it's actually possible to keep all those verses with you. So you can read Bhagavad Gita daily, even if you don't have a book. So
there's a question in the chat.
Okay, what's the question?
They're asking if they should read in Sanskrit or English the chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Both. You find that Prabhupada, when he would teach Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, he would oftentimes speak on the word and open up that word. And he wouldn't always repeat it in a rote style. He would just translate it based on the meaning of the words. So you should do Sanskrit and really learn the meaning of the words. Learn and that way it opens up. You find that you see a verse that the purport is because, if the purports are so big because there's so much meaning in the words, in the Sanskrit of the words, whereas just the English, you won't be able to fluff out all that information. Like, here's one example, the word jnana in the 9th chapter, just as we said, how do you get the fire out of wood? You put some friction. So the word jnana means knowledge, which means that by which something can be understood. So if the topic is Krishna, how do you understand Krishna? Bhakti. So the word jnana in the 9th chapter specifically means bhakti, because it is the instrument by which Krishna is understood. So you won't get that just by seeing the word knowledge. Versus the word jnana means, the definition is that by which something is understood. And if the topic that you're trying to understand is Krishna, then what is the only thing that can reveal Krishna? Bhakti. So there's a lot of kind of hidden things that are there that are opened up through the Sanskrit.
So it looks
Sanskrit,
like
you read the English and the Sanskrit, but it's good to try to learn learn 50% of the words or 30% of the meaning of the words.
Thank you,
How many,
Nityananda Prabhu.
how many verses did the parrot know? Just
He
want
knew
to
a
make
chapter.
sure.
He knew a chapter.
One chapter?
Okay. Yeah, he chanted a chapter and she chanted it. And then
we have another question in the chat.
Yeah, Bhima can yes. What's the question?
So she wrote, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita at the start of the war. So how is Gita Jayanti after Bhima Panchaka?
I heard this question before. There's an answer somewhere. I don't know the answer. Bhishma Panchaka is also that, yeah, that it said Bhima was, yeah, he was like he was there for a long time, very, very long time. He was lying on the bed of arrows. Yeah, I don't know the astrology and all that, but there's definitely an answer. I think Krishna Chaitanya Charan probably answers this question on his the Spiritual Scientist blog. You can just type his name and then search that question. I'm pretty sure he's answered that question, but it's definitely the answers out there, that question.
Okay. Nice class, Nityananda. Thank you very much for glorifying the Gita for us, the value of the shlokas. And we know this way, if we know a few shlokas here and there, a few chapters, few shlokas, then our mind knows where to go in the time where there's some confusion or distress. We just know where it's a shortcut to wisdom. All right, Bhima Prabhu, you wanted to say something? See, the parrot knew a chapter. Let's see what you know.
I know nothing. If you know where that's from. I actually accidentally pressed the mic, but I did want to say that was wonderful. And it's the reason why we have stories is sort of like what Nityananda Chandra was saying about songs that we remember. We might not be able to memorize something, but if we sing it, then it sticks with us. Music has this ability to penetrate deeper into our remembrance. Are we having the darshan? What's going on with that?
It's a verbal darshan today. See Krishna through ears. Yeah.
Okay. So also is true about stories. There's a Hebraic saying that says, "Stories you will have with you always." So we have these stories of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, and within each one of them, as Nityananda Chandra is so enthusiastically relating from one to another and how they're all tied together, we come to understand that there is not a portion of our lives, if we just take a little time in introspection, there's not a portion of our lives that's not reflected in some way as to how Krishna will play with us, how Krishna will enact his drama through us if we have a certain propensity to be rebellious or envious or criticize. Krishna deals with us. He bifurcates us. He sucks the life out of us. He brings us down from our high horse. He quells the whirlwind and buries it into the ground. Krishna is constantly at play in the field. They say at play in the fields of God is a title of a wonderful movie. But we are literally at this time at play in the fields of God. Though we may think that there is Krishna and his pastimes in the Bhagavatam 5,000 years ago, or in another ancient land at another time, but it's sort of like if you're still enough and listen to these stories as Nityananda Chandra relates, they can bring great joy and great security and great surety that Krishna is indeed dealing with us in a very personal way, day to day, and that if we at least pay attention to that and cease to separate ourselves, sin means sunda, comes from the German sunda, to separate, to cut, asunder. So if we do not separate ourselves from Krishna and his pastimes on a moment-to-moment basis and come to understand that when we're dealing with others, when we're dealing with our day-to-day activities, Krishna is always at work trying to bring us forward, trying to eventually bring us to Dwarka, and maybe eventually bring us to Vrindavan itself. So I'd just like to thank Nityananda Chandra for being, reminding me what joy we can take and what surety and security we can take in just reading the Bhagavatam and reading the stories of the pastimes of Krishna in his field of play. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Krishna is working in everyone's life. Krishna is playing in everyone's life. That's how we should reframe that. Krishna is playing in everyone's life. Okay. Would anyone else like to say anything? We can take one more reflection or question. Sundaranandaji, Bhima said that Sundar means sinful. What does Sundar mean? Does that mean without something, some deficiency? We know there's a name, Sundarananda, Sundar Chaitanya, Sundari Gopi. What's the root Sundar?
Means
Nitai
beautiful.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. Sundar, yeah. Ati Sundar, very beautiful.
Ati Sundari, yeah, there's a devotee, Ati Sundari. Okay, Ananda
Krishna's
Manja.
pastimes are not only very beautiful, but they're very mysterious. Krishna's with the gopis and dancing, it's not that there's millions of gopis and they're just seeing like from miles away. Okay, there's Krishna over there. He's there with each one. Or you're having a picnic with Krishna, and he's at the center. And that means that you're like miles away from the center, and you see, okay, you got your binoculars. Oh, no, there's Krishna. Actually, he's there, expanding himself to be with they're feeding him. Not that they, are miles away. He's actually expanding himself in multiple forms to deal with, to exchange loving relationship with his devotees. Ananda Manjari has her hand up.
Yes, Hare Krishna. I just wanted to bring one point back, which to me is very hopeful and sweet. And so when you spoke how separation is not the end of the story, like it is meant to culminate in the reunion or union and that deepening of love. And it also reminded me of like this saying, like, oh, at the end everything will be okay. So if it's not the end yet. And so in that way, I'm just like having that sense of joy and perhaps like a larger vision of perspective that it's like, yeah, at the end we need to be back with Krishna, and so we are just still on a journey.
Yeah, it's not the end. Stay alive, as Vaisheshika Prabhu says, and the inheritance of bhakti is coming. Just stay alive, stick around, stick to the process. Bhima Prabhu?
I read something the other day. I can't remember what the source was. I think it was a Rumi or Sufi
or
writing.
Buddha.
Not so much Buddha, because this was a very personal writing, a very personal reflection. And that is Krishna, we ourselves may be distant from Krishna, but at the same time, Krishna is right next to us. So we can be distant, but Krishna is never distant from us. So that's a hard paradox to understand, sort of like a Zen paradox. We ourselves can be millions of lifetimes away from Krishna, but Krishna is right there next to us. So I just thought I'd mention that separation and Sambhoja are simultaneously occurring at once.
Thank you, Bhima Prabhu. A very important point. I'm here in a janitor's closet, and Krishna is right here with me. And I got Prabhupada smiling. I got Krishna swinging with Radharani. I got Nitai Chand giving class. So all these wonderful devotees are reflecting, attending so steadily, drinking the nectar with their ears. Thank you so much, Nitai Chand. Thank you very much, Padayatra Prabhu, for your attendance. Okay, thanks everyone on this call. We're wishing you a wonderful day. All the Bhakti Double Dippers, Wisdom of the Sages crew, good to see you. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day. Happy Gita Jayanti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Sundaranandaji, nice hair though.
All right, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Adam G, good to see you, Prabhu. Good to see you. Long time no see. The first thing he does when he wakes up, he's chanting Hare Krishna. Adam G. Before he brushes his teeth, he chants Hare Krishna. That's how you surrender. That's how you're above rules and regulations. NMG, good to see you. Good to see you, Prabhu. Okay. Hare Krishna.